Hello everyone, this is Summer here. I wanted to send you all a quick video tutorial where I can walk you through the new leadership coach log that is available now in the live PIDS system. It's also available in your test site, so if you have a chance and you want to explore and play around with it before you go to put your first login, feel free to log into the test site and use the proper role and you can play around with it. So let's start. I went and logged into PIDS, and of course I'm at that screen where I need to select my role. So this is a bit of a change. You want to select the leadership coach role. So this is a specially designed role that will give you access to the leadership coach log that's outside of the program's normal documentation, which means that the program level users would not be able to access your coach log. So that's why we have this special role set up for this function. So I'm going to go ahead and see that leadership coach role. So I'll go ahead and select that one here on our test site, and it'll bring me into the PIDS homepage. So where the leadership coach role is going to live is in this new leadership coach dashboard. So right underneath the pyramid model professionals, you should see this new leadership coach dashboard. Of course, as you log into the system using your classroom coach data collector role, you would not see this because that is a program level role. So this is only available in leadership coach dashboard and in user roles higher than that. So at the hub and the state level. So a couple things to note before we jump into that there are a couple of pieces that are going to play into how you fill out your log. So we tried to make this a very intuitive tool that pulls in information that's already entered into the system in other places and just presents it on your page to just make it quicker and easier to complete. One of those sections is the leadership team members. Now, this might be new to you as well, but there is a section for leadership team members. So if I click on the program leadership team dashboard, that will take me to the program leadership team dashboard page where the action plan lives. So I don't know if you've had time to check that out, but we're going to do some training on that soon as well. So I have my action plan schedule, and below that, I have a section here for my leadership team members, okay? So as you can see, I don't have an add new button here. This is a program level function. So we want the programs to be able to go into PIDS and enter their own leadership team members. So that's why it's reserved for the program roles. However, as with all the other pieces in PIDS, we do recognize that there are programs that will not have somebody that is able to get into PIDS and do this. And so that's what the classroom coach data collector role is going to do for you still. So that is the role that you're going to use to enter your data just as you have been, and the role that would allow you to enter these leadership team members for the program if they're unable to do it for themselves. But this information is going to play into what happens with your leadership coach log. So I wanted to just show you that first. Okay. We'll go ahead and jump into the leadership coach dashboard now. So I'll go ahead and click on that button and it will load up for me. So within the leadership coach dashboard, I have our log is at the front. So at the top of the page here. We also have leadership team meeting schedules. So this is a place that you can interact with and enter schedules for your program. So when you have leadership team meetings, you also have a place for meeting debriefs, coaching circle section. So I don't think these really apply to Massachusetts right now, but just want to point them out that they are in here as well. All right, so to go in and do a new leadership coach log, just like all the other tools, you would click on the blue Add New Leadership Coach button to start a new one. As you can see here, I've entered a couple test ones. So we can see the one that I entered for January is entered in here, and it's got a green check mark indicating that is done. Whereas I have this one here that was started in March or for the month of March, but you can see that it has the red X indicating that is not complete yet. So this is a tool that we have specially designed for you to be able to go in throughout the course of the month and add information to as you go along throughout the month, so that you don't have to wait until the end of the month to go in and write this this large log of activities. You can track it throughout the month if that works best for you. So that's what I've done here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click my Actions Edit button and open up the tool. So here is the coach log. So we can see, as with many forms and PIDS, at the top, we have some basic information. So we're going to have our program name already in there. If it's a new one, you may have to click it from the dropdown, which it should only provide you with one dropdown. There is no ID number registered for this particular test site. We can see the type of program that it is. So this is done on the back end of the system. Leadership coach, your name should pop in here. So how this happens is you are given that leadership coach role that we talked about in the very beginning of this little video where I was doing the login piece. So if you have that leadership coach role for this particular program, your name will pop in here. So that's how that ends up getting in there. Next is the classroom coaches or practice-based coaches. So we can see that we do have one person in here. If we had other people that were doing coaching within the program, and they did have the practice-based coaching training in their record, then their names would populate in here as well. If you're working with the program and you don't yet have that internal coach piece in place, don't worry about it. You can just skip this section and move on. Next, we have a question that indicates if we are doing a cumulative log or a single engagement or encounter. So this one is a cumulative. That's what we do in Massachusetts. So we have that one selected. Here we are indicating the month that it was done. So I have March selected. A number value here for the total number of communication or engagement. So again, this is something you can build on throughout the course of the month if you'd like. Number of attempted engagements or in communication engagements. What phase of the implementation is the program currently in? So we built this out to 10, even though we know Massachusetts doesn't have 10 stages of implementation, but we wanted to give states that flexibility. If they did create a process that included more than 7 stages, we wanted to provide that in there. So you would just select the number. These questions are very familiar, so they were on your previous log. So for the phase you identified, what's the likelihood that the program will make progress on the BOQ? So you were going to select not at all likely, somewhat, very likely, not applicable. What's the likelihood of completing most or all of the goals of the program's action plan within the expected timeframes? So not likely, somewhat, or not applicable. We don't have an action plan yet in place. All right, so that's the top part, very basic information. Now moving on to the next section. So here is where the leadership team members play into your coach log, which is why I showed you that first. So again, those are entered through the program leadership team dashboard through your classroom coach data collector role, because this is a program function. So once those people are identified and entered into the system, you will be able to directly from your coach log, just check the box next to the ones that you had communication with or engagement with throughout the course of the month. So maybe we had engagement with Becky and Francis, but we did not interact with Sam at all this month. So we can go ahead and select those members. If we had interaction with somebody else, we can just type their name in here. And we'll say maybe that was a BCDA. Okay. Now we're going into the section of domains where we are just checking some boxes. Okay, so the first section is all based around planning. So you're just going to, throughout the course of the month again, or you could do it at the very end of the month, check the boxes that applied. So what did you provide this month that related to planning? Did you assist with action planning? Some of these other tools, or maybe there was none provided this month. You can go ahead and select that as well. Next domain is for meetings. So again, you're just going to select the ones that pertain to what you did. There is a spot to indicate other meetings, and you can go ahead and type those in, or again, you can select none provided if that was not something you did throughout the course of the month. Moving on, internal coach program support. Same function there, just checking the boxes. Behavior support. family support, data support. Okay, so those are your 6 domains. Okay, so those are kind of the main sections that we took the coach logs from Massachusetts and a couple other states and grouped them up into these categories or domains of activities that might occur. The next section are to identify the program barriers, program strengths, and then talk a little bit more about resources dedicated to data collection. So again, this is a spot where you can just simply check the boxes that applied. And then move on to the next section. Again, it does offer you a place to specify if there was something else that was not in this particular pick list. Right, almost to the bottom of our log here is which of the following equity focused topics did you discuss? So just kind of focusing a bit on that diversity, equity, and inclusion emphasis here by asking some questions specifically around that. Training, so how much targeted training was provided in this reporting period? So a way to capture all the training or support that you're providing for PD at the programs in this section. So maybe you did 1 hour and 30 minutes of some training, and then a spot to indicate what type of training you provided. Okay. Then finally, the bottom of the form is where you have a place to put some of that qualitative data. So in your own words, what are your current impressions of the program? What are your next steps? So these 2 boxes are required. The system will give you if you try to say, I'm going to be done with this form, it will tell you that they are required. So you would need to put in a brief note in this section as well as in this section. And this last section is not required. So this is just a highlights, any highlight stories or other additional information that you want to share this month or you want to log and keep track of for yourself as well. Okay. So once we're done with the form, we can go ahead and hit save. Notice that I'm not checking this box yet. So this is the process you would go through. If maybe we did some of it, we've got most of it done, but we didn't quite have everything we needed when we sat down to do it. And so now we want to go back in and review it and make sure it's good to go and then finalize it. So we've saved what we did. We're going to come back to the dashboard, click that edit button and open it back up. Okay. So we're looking through, making sure we have everything captured that we want to have captured in our monthly log. All looks good. So we're going to now click this button. The form is complete. So at this point, if you missed any of the required sections, which pretty much most of the tool is required, except for if there's no leadership team members, you don't have to complete that. If there's no practice-based coach, you can skip that. But pretty much everything else is going to be a required field in here for you to at least select non-applicable or non-provided. But something filled in each section. So now the system's going to check, make sure we've got all those fields, and we're going to go ahead and hit save. So here we go. I missed one. So I clicked the attend other meetings list below. So the system's going to tell me, wait, you're not quite done yet. So we would just have to fill in this of what other meetings we attended and list those below. So we'll just word in there. Looks like there's nothing else. Oh, another one that I missed for the same reason. So I wasn't looking when I checked boxes. So I selected that other. So it's going to pop that open for me. So I'll just unselect that for now. And looks like that's it. So let's go ahead and hit save again and make sure that we've got everything in there this time. All right. So now we're back on our dashboard and we can see the form is complete with that green check mark and we have the month that it was there. And so this is where you will now accumulate and track all of your leadership coach logs. We are in the process of developing some reports for this tool, of course, so look for those to come very soon. I hope you really like this tool. One other thing I wanted to just briefly mention is that in the benchmarks of quality and in the teapot observation dashboards, there's now a place that you can indicate when they're scheduled. So that is a helpful piece of reporting and something that we've been tracking for a while now, is when things are scheduled, to make sure you're getting the proper points credit for those on our tracking dashboard. So now those can be entered right into PIDS. So you should see in your BOQ dashboard, as well as in your teapot or tippy toes dashboard, a place that you can go ahead and indicate if you have a teapot or a BOQ scheduled for the year. So feel free to go and use those pieces. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was helpful. We will get something more formal and more professional out as soon as we can. But in the meantime, if you have any questions about this tool, please feel free to reach out, and I hope you'll find it beneficial. Thanks so much, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.